This is Dagon, which I think is a demo. I'm not really sure if it's a demo or the full game, but regardless, we're gonna get right on to it. Dagon is a faithful interpretive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work, focused on the story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here, and movement is limited to progress through location, along with the plots.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Okay. Okay. During the game, you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey. Interesting facts about the original story, the background. Some of the trivia. Okay, cool. All right, what am I doing?
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer.
It's a walking sim. You should enjoy it.
From this garret
Got you.
into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that
What is that on the desk? Is that a picture of some
death?
fauna over there or what? Right here. What is that?
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific. The packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raid.
Supercargo. What kind of are we carrying? Superman? Is that what that means? What is supercargo, chat? Is it cargo that is literally super? That doesn't sound good. I don't like that. I don't like that.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
Okay.
So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
That doesn't sound like consideration or fairness, to be real. So is this actually like it just reading the short story to us? Got sunk by the Germans, yes. Okay.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors.
I got
5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
So, our guy escaped.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
So our guy escaped, and he's in the boat alone. What happened to the other prisoners? Are they all dead?
Never a competent navigator. I could only guess vaguely.
What's funny is I've actually read most of the stories of H.P. Lovecraft, but I don't remember any of them. I think the wording was too complicated for me.
I knew nothing, and no
highly implied, yes. Okay.
Was in sight.
Okay. Because fun fact, chat, I actually was going to do a narration of all of H.P. Lovecraft's work. What am I supposed to do? For Nightmare Fuel, actually. Am I supposed to grab something? Too complicated for you? I agree. I understood it while reading it. It just was too much for my brain to remember. Oh, I have to look at the weird thing over here. Okay, got it.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Okay. I cannot imagine getting lost at sea like this. This would be so horrifying, especially if a storm kicked up. My God, you'd be dead. That would be like the most horrifying thing, is to be lost at sea with just a little boat like this.
And I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Like, I don't have thalassophobia, but I'll tell you what, I am afraid of the ocean. Because I think the ocean has every right to be feared. Ooh.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see.
Ooh.
And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I mean, I don't blame him. If this is what it looked like, 110%, I would be like, okay, that's scary.
And in the rotting soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
Oh, okay.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
I don't see no dead fish. I do see a dead snail-looking thing, and then also that thing over there.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence.
I'm not gonna
immensity.
I'm not gonna lie though, chat. I am actually really, really digging the fact that it's like it gives you visuals along with the story.
There was
you know,
nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath me.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I agree with that, Gordy. That's a good way of putting it. It is like almost a visual novel. If not, it is an actual visual novel. One or the other. Okay, so we can walk in here. Well, I can't walk. Game can.
The stranded boat. I realized that only one theory could explain my position.
What's that? What's that?
Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Hold on. Unprecedented volcanic upheaval. So he's saying that he thinks that the volcano somehow erupted underneath the ocean floor and threw up a piece of the ocean on top of, a piece of the ocean floor on top of the actual ocean. The seafloor is suddenly above water. Yes. I don't think that's how that works. I don't know. I don't think, like, isn't that a density issue? Like, the soil would still be more dense than the ocean, no matter how much of it you threw on top of it. Okay, all right. You know what? You're right. 1930s. That's right. Come on, Trevor. Get into the headspace.
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect.
I'm just saying, chat, I'm an idiot, and I understand that's not how this works, all right?
As I might.
I'm an idiot. I know that's not how it works.
Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
I mean, now, if it was like an oil-based soil of some sort, somehow, some way, I could maybe see that. But even still, that's like...
For several hours, I sat
a whole nother thing.
Brooding in the boat.
Or isn't oil denser than water? Oil's denser than water, isn't it?
The sun moved across the heavens.
I don't know.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time.
It doesn't look dry over there, I'll tell you what.
I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Okay, so it is oil floats in water. Okay. We got there, chat. We got there. Yeah, you're right. HP had limited education, but great imagination. Awesome. Some very controversial opinions.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry.
Not so great opinions on things.
The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Okay. Can we? Oh, we're actually moving. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're right, Gordy. You're right.
All day,
And then also the oil
forged
spills. The
steadily
oil's always on
westward,
top of the water,
guided by
and
a
that's how the
faraway
ducks and
hummock
everything
which
else
rose
get
higher
covered in
than any
oil and
other
whatnot.
elevation on the rolling desert.
Ooh. What are those things? Oh my god. Like, some of these things are so crazy. I don't know how H.P. Lovecraft came up with half the stuff he did. I'm gonna be honest. Oh, there's a whale. I know that one. What is this attached to? What is that attached to? That looks like a giant freaking limb. I don't like that limb. That reminds me of spiders, and I know I have some people who are afraid of spiders, and I wanna try to avoid that.
And on the following day, still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
No. I know D20. I know.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening
spiders, just
valley
tentacles.
setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
How could you sleep on this
Why my
ground?
dreams were so wild
I
that
would be
night.
so scared of like sinking in.
But ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain,
BRB, no worries.
I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again.
Okay, all
In
right.
the glow of the moon, I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day.
Wait, why? What? Wait, well, hold on.
Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
What? How does that make sense? Wait. Because you're dehydrated?
I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Okay. Interesting. So we're going up here? Oh, picking up my pack. Okay, got it.
I have said that the unbroken
Maybe the heat? I don't
monotony
know.
of
That
the
seems kind of
rolling
weird,
was a
doesn't it?
source of vague
Because, I mean,
horror to me.
climbing up a mountain during the nighttime would seem
But I
more
think my horror
dangerous.
was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon,
Oh.
whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world,
Okay.
peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that
So began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so as I had imagined. Okay, yes. Totally
ridges
knew what I
and
was saying. Yep.
outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent,
Okay.
whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Declivity, huh? Interesting. Interesting. I will say,
Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
as someone who like tried to narrate this once, not this exact story, but I did do Cthulhu. I did do a few other ones for Nightmare Fuel. I will say this way of speaking is like so opposite from what I do normally. It took me so many takes to even get anywhere near making it sound natural, right? Okay. And I hated it. There were so many words where I would have to pause the recording, be like, all right, how do I hey Google, how do you properly pronounce blah 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 blah. Also, what is up, CMD? How you doing? No emotion, yet it sound natural. Oh yeah, it's hard. Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. I was like, one of the stories I remember took me 3 days to actually read through because of how hard the language was, and to try to make it sound not necessarily like cold, dark, and natural, but like in a creepypasta narration kind of natural, right? Because that was the main thing about Nightmare Fuel. I always wanted to make it sound like it's someone actually telling you the story, rather than, you know, and you experience it through your ears and stuff, rather than it just being me reading something to you.
Gazing into the
but yeah,
deeps,
I enjoyed Nightmare Fuel. It was so much fun. Well, I was reading the story as I was streaming it just now, and knowing me, no emotions.
All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me.
What is that?
An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Oh, that's horrifying. I don't like that. Chad, I don't like this. I don't like this. Can I not click on it? No. Do I click on the moon? No. I click on this. All right. Well, I have struggles with showing emotions and know it. No, I get you. I get you.
Assured myself.
It's merely just a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
Okay, there is no straight lines in nature, though. If I saw this, I would not go towards it.
Scrutiny filled me with
or I would believe it's the Stargate. Like, the legit Stargate. All right, because it kind of looks like the Stargate.
For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures.
But if this was from the bottom of the ocean, you got to think to yourself, what kind of living, thinking creatures?
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
So, for context, for those of you who are just joining us, and also Gordy, this whole land that we're on right now was basically upheaved by a gigantic volcanic eruption. Well, in this guy's mind, that's what happened. We actually don't know how we got here yet, but supposedly this guy's thinking that a volcano basically exploded, and the force from that explosion caused a whole bunch of land from the bottom of the ocean to rise to the top, much like oil on water, right? That's why I was kind of talking about the oil and water thing at the beginning. And for some reason or another, this hasn't gotten overly saturated and fell back into the ocean. So that's here, right? Okay, that also implies that everything that is on the ground here was also on the ground in the bottom of the ocean for God knows how long. So this monolith also comes from the bottom of the ocean, right? Okay. Does that make sense? It's not necessarily a random monolith from the desert. It's actually a random monolith from the bottom of the ocean. And that's why it's also kind of weird where it's like, you know, if he thinks that it was made from thinking living creatures, how did this get to the bottom, very bottom of the ocean kind of thing? And why is it here now? Because keep in mind, we're still technically in the ocean.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm.
I know you want to make known, but you don't know. He thinks it's a well, no, I know he thinks it's from the volcano, and I think I said that a few times, didn't I? We don't actually know what caused the whole thing to be here. Okay.
and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books.
Well, that's a sea turtle. That's a conch. Is it a magic conch? That's a hammerhead shark over there. That's a great white shark over there. Man, look at me, chat. I know how to read Cthulhu.
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi.
Oh, okay, he can do it. Dang it. I thought it was special. Damn.
And the like.
Way to show me up, dude, on my own stream. How rude.
Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world.
Sea turtles aren't known to the modern world?
But whose decomposing
even in the 1930s?
Observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings at the Mountains of Madness in the Nameless City. I think I did read the Mountains of Madness. I don't know if I read the Nameless City. Journals and character notes, A Shadow Out of Time, and Hunter of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean called the Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies. The Whispers in the Dark. I know that Skillet song. That's a good song. I'm sorry. I was uncalled for. I was uncalled for. Oh, it's also considered the original, the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories have also concluded in a manner similar to Dagon, but let's skip the details in order to not spoil the ending. Okay, all right. You can read the Discovery trivia immediately or go back to them later in the main menu, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré.
Oh, are we talking about the bottom here?
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men. Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well.
You mean exactly like the one that we are currently looking at right now?
Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail. Mere remembrance makes me grow faint.
Okay.
Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer.
I have no idea what either one of those things are. Okay.
In general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background.
Oh, I see.
One of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale.
Oh, Poe! Alan Poe, okay.
Himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size.
Deep sea giganticism.
But in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe.
But they weren't so imaginary.
Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born. Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist.
Okay.
I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly,
You saw
I
what?
saw it.
Whoa, what was that in the water?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Going towards the monolith?
Fiend-like and loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith,
Okay.
about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, the while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
Okay. The flip is it?
I think I went mad then.
Broseph, you don't...
My frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Okay, go up here. Hold on. We got this. We got this. We got this. We're escaping. I believe I sang a great deal, laughed oddly when I was unable to sing. Okay, so our dude's just gone absolutely insane because he saw one of the deep ones.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat.
Okay.
I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods.
Chat, we're back at the boat. We're back at the boat.
When I came out of the shadows,
we're
I was in
live.
San Francisco hospital.
Ooh, okay, all right.
Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention.
That's because it wasn't real. None of it was real.
In the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Because it wasn't real. Right? The journalist. All right, we'll come back to that. Hello?
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
The fish god. Is that who we saw? Is that the... It wasn't Cthulhu, it was actually one of the other ones? It was Dagon? Dagon. Is there any other little things? Okay, nope. I'm guessing we saw Dagon.
Soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
I will say though, like, I could not imagine being in a world like this. Dagon is one of Cthulhu's minions, so yes. Well, no, I'm saying, like, is that who we saw? Did we not see Cthulhu himself? Or did we see Bean? Do not, little miss Bean. Chat, it's Bean. She came over here to torment me. So here you go. You get to see Bean. It's a Bean. Boo. Yeah. But no, basically what I was asking is, like, that one guy that we saw earlier, was that Dagon or was that Cthulhu? Do we know? All right, come here. There you go. Get in your little chair. Oh, it was just what, a deep one? Got it. I like how it's making me like zigzag across the room to the door. That's always good. That's always fantastic.
It is at night, especially
we're back
when the moon
here.
is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing.
You'll know Dagon when you see him. Got it.
I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow.
Okay. Terrible.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm.
That's a good question.
A
It's a
mere
good question.
freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man of war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply.
Oh, okay. All right. That's not good.
I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed.
Yeah, this is true.
Worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water soap. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Oh, that's not good. That wouldn't be good. Yeah. You know, in my very professional opinion, that would not be good, chat.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some
Oh.
immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Uh-oh.
It shall not find me.
I thought we were gonna... Wait, huh? Well, he found us. That didn't go according to plan.
God, that hand.
Ooh. Oh, no.
Window. The window.
The window. Jump out the window. Ah! Well, I'm guessing that was a higher window than I thought it was. I thought it was the first floor window. Interesting. That was actually pretty fun. I like that one. I will say, I do wonder if they're working on like the Cthulhu one or anything like that. It was a pretty good like adaptation though, for sure. Again, I haven't read Dagon, but I have read like Cthulhu, or the Call of Cthulhu, sorry, Mountains of Madness, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and I always like those ones. But that was a pretty good one. I like that one.